Okay, we're going to start talking a little bit about slope and the slope of a line. So one thing to remember about slope is we're going to be talking about, the variable that gets used by sort of customarily for this is m, and it's always the rise over the run. Now, I'm going to just take a couple points. I'm going to take one ordered pair, and this is my first point, so I'm going to call this point x1 and y1. I'll take another point up here. It's don't attach anything to the grid lines here. Just think of this as any generic point. So I've got x2 and y2. If I wanted to figure out what this horizontal distance is, remember this x is going to be the same. So this x2 is right here. If I wanted to figure out what this distance is, this distance right here would be x2 minus x1. All right. Well, very similarly, if I want to figure out what that vertical distance here is, I would have to take this top point and subtract that bottom point. So this point, this distance right here is y2 minus y1. And now if we take a look at this, hey, I've got a line. This piece right here, this horizontal distance is the run. The vertical distance is the rise. So when I take a look at the slope of the line, when I say it's rise over run, I'm going to say, if I'm just looking at the points, it's going to be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And that's a kind of a cool way of looking at what a slope is. You're able to, if you're given a graph, you could literally just look at 2 points and count out what your slope is. You could say, oh, between these 2 points, well, if I want to figure out how far up it goes, I could figure that out. And then I could say, well, this seems to be going up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This would have a rise of 8. Now, if I were to figure out what the run on this one is, I could say, oh, well, what's my run? Well, this seems to have a run of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So if I do actually think of these as specific points, I'd have a rise of 8 for a run of 12, and then I could actually reduce this fraction. This would be the same thing as, let's say I divide both of those by 4. I'd end up with 2/3. So for every 2 up, it would go 3 over. But let's take a look at just some slopes in general. Give you some more general information about slope. And first of all, let's think about a couple cases. We've got cases where my slope is going to be going up from left to right. Here's my x, here's my y. So this is a positive slope. It's positive. This is going up from left to right. If I have a line that is going down, so from this point over here, it wouldn't have a rise. This would be a fall for a positive run. So this is going to be a negative slope. This is going down from left to right. Oops. And once again, I always like to make sure to label your axes here. Well, there's a couple other cases. We could have things that are, we've got things that are going up, we've got some things going down, but what about some other cases? What about a time when it neither goes up nor down? Let's say I've got a line that looks like this. Here, remember, it's rise over run. Here, if I've got 0 rise divided by another number, I literally have 0 divided by a number. Anytime I divide 0, my slope is 0. This is going to be a 0 slope, which literally is a horizontal line. And furthermore, I know that every single one of these is going to have the equation of y is equal to some constant. And that constant happens to be the y-intercept. That's 0b right there. Okay, well, what happens? Here's where I've got no rise. Well, what happens when I have a line and instead of having no rise, I've got no run? Well, let's see what that would look like. If I've got a line with no run, remember, it's rise divided by run. And it is illegal to divide by 0. When I try to divide by 0, we end up with something called an undefined number. So here, this would be an undefined slope. And it looks like I need to get a new blue pen. So I have an undefined slope. Yep, I'm going to replace this pen right here. So my slope is undefined. This is a vertical line. And furthermore, I know that I could say, well, this point right here is a and 0. Every single vertical line would have an equation that looks like x equals a constant. So this is our undefined slope. So we've got positive going up from left to right, negative going down from left to right, 0 slope, which is just a horizontal line, or a vertical slope that's got a vertical line which has an undefined slope. Okay, last little example here. Let's go ahead and give you some examples of what you're going to see when you're going to be sometimes asked to find what is the slope just given 2 points. So if you're asked to find the slope, between the points, or that contains the points, let's do -3, 5, and 7, -1. Now, when we're doing this, it's a good idea we're going to start off with our equation. So it's that y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And be consistent. Remember, if I choose this as 0.1, that means that these values here are going to be x1 and y1. That means that this point would be x2 and y2. So when we substitute these things in, I always like to throw a set of parentheses, especially around that second set here. So y2, that's going to be a -1, minus, in this case, a 5. So x2 minus x1 over, or sorry, y2 minus y1 over x2, so in this case it's 7, minus a -3. I hope you can tell that the one thing that can really be tricky with these can be your signs. So let's take a look at what happens here. Here I've got a negative, and I can think of this as, when I resolve my signs here, this is going to be a negative plus another negative. I will end up with -1 plus -5 is -6. Down below, well, I'll do my internal thought process here. Okay, -1 minus 5 there, and 7 minus a -3. I always like to resolve these signs. Minus a negative, whenever you see two minuses directly next to each other like this, I like to just resolve that right there. 7 plus 3 is going to be a 10. Now, it's a poor form to leave a fraction without reducing it if you can. I can reduce both of these things by a factor of 2, so I'm going to do that. When I divide -6 by 2, I'm going to end up with -3. When I divide 10 by 2, I'll end up with a 5. So this slope is going to be -3/5. Okay, that's what we've got for right now, and I will see you in the next video.